The Art and Times of the Guitar by Frederick V. Grunsfeld. Chapter 8, The Guitar in America, Part 2. The guitar, being easier to make and manage, gradually superseded the banjo among Southern Negroes. Since many instruments were homemade, there was no clear dividing line between them. In any case, we hear of 4-string cheese box banjos and 4-string soapbox guitars that must have sounded just about identical. When I was about 10 years old, remembered the magnificent blues singer Big Bill Brunsey, 1893 to 1958, I made a fiddle out of a cigar box, a guitar out of goods boxes for my buddy Louis Carter, and we would play for the white people's picnics. And another great blues singer, Muddy Waters, told Paul Oliver about his childhood. All the kids made their own guitars, made mine out of a box and bit of stick for a neck. Couldn't do much with it, but that's how you learn. Makeshift though they may have been, these were the instruments that ultimately transformed the sound and rhythm of popular music in the Western world. It was only gradually that the guitar became an essential part of white singing styles and the top of Old Smoky school of folk music. Historically, the guitar is a latecomer to the English folk song and the standard accompaniments that are now played to the Foggy Dew, and such are merely modern additions to Elizabethan originals. The British ballads that form the substratum of American folk song were traditionally sung unaccompanied, and not only without gestures, but with the greatest restraint in the matter of expression. According to the pioneer song hunter Cecil Sharp, indeed, the folk singer will usually close his eyes and observe an impassive demeanor throughout his performance. On the American frontier, these same songs first acquired accompaniments on instruments like the dulcimer, introduced by German settlers, and the parson's fiddle. Guitars appeared on the scene from 3 directions: the eastern cities that followed London trends in drawing room music, the Spanish Southwest, where there were few adobes without a guitar, and the Negro South. Colonial and revolutionary America was well supplied with English-made guitars. We know that Benjamin Franklin was a guitarist. So was Francis Hopkins, another signer of the Declaration of Independence, who composed songs and became first civilian head of the U.S. Navy. About 1768, he writes in a letter to his fiancée, Anne Borden of Bordentown, "My dear Nancy, this morning I wrote the enclosed song which I shall set to music and play for you on the guitar when I visit you next." The wealthy planters of Virginia also played in the English style. "When we returned about candlelight," writes the colonial diarist Philip Vickers Fithian in one of those flashes of description that can illuminate an era, "we found Mrs. Carter in the yard seeing to the roosting of her poultry, and the colonel in the parlor tuning his guitar." In Philadelphia, meanwhile, Mr. Henry Capron performed his own sonata guitarre at a concert and advertised in the program. Mr. Capron respectfully informs the public that he instructs ladies and gentlemen in the art of singing and playing on the Spanish and English guitars, recording the most approved method of the finest masters in Europe. His terms are 1 guinea for 8 lessons and 1 guinea entrance. The entrance to be dispensed with if the person applying to him has received previous instruction from another master. At 2 lessons per week, he engages to perfect any person possessing a tolerable ear. In the space of 6 months, the guitar from the late improvement which it has received, being so portable and so easily kept in order, is now considered not only as a desirable but a fashionable instrument. The first guitar manual published in North America, the complete instructor for the Spanish and English guitar, harp, lute, and lyre, was brought out in 1820 by J. Siegling of Charleston, South Carolina. It was followed in due course by the American guitarist, Ryan's True Guitar Instructor. Winner's Primary School for the Guitar and others, a number of American guitarists, many of French or Spanish backgrounds, earned considerable reputations during the 19th century. Among them, William Bateman, Charles de Hanon, Luis T. Romero, William Foden, Manuel Y. Ferrer, Clarence L. Partee, Charles James Dorb, and Czar M. Bickford. But it was the anonymous legion of country guitarists who accounted for the westward expansion of twang. Settlers who packed their guitars on Conestoga wagons, and sailors who shipped theirs around the Horn. On the western plains in the days of the long cattle drives, a guitar was more useful than a 6-gun, and many cowboys found it advisable to pack both. The traditional night-herding song is a perfect illustration of Jacques Dalcroze's theory about the relationship of rhythm to body movement, eurythmics. The cowboy sang to keep himself awake and to quiet the restless cattle as he circled the herd, adjusting his rhythm to the swinging gait of the horse and tossing in a soothing refrain of cattle calls. Whoopee-tee-yo, get along, little doggies. It's your misfortune and none of my own. Whoopee-tee-yo, get along, little doggies, for you know Wyoming will be your new home.